on guys, E36 Photos here, and today we're going to take a look at this image buildup of this BMW E36 I shot recently. So starting off, this is going to be our base layer. Basically just position the car in the center of a cul-de-sac, and I framed the shot, and this is the shot that I wanted to get. So the first thing I always do is I start with multiple exposures. So I always start with, a few stops over, a few stops under, just to have the data in case I ever need it. Usually I don't really do any sort of HDR, but it's always good to have the data available if you need it. From there, I basically started spinning my circular polarizer filter, and I got rid of those really harsh reflections. And so now I had a nice, smooth starting point to work with. So that really wasn't enough for me, and I really wanted to bring in some artificial lighting. So I set up my Flashpoint Explorer 600, and I started popping off a few flashes around the car to give it a really cool effect. So now we're taking a look at the result of adding artificial light. And when I made this tutorial, I didn't quite save the original file, so I skipped over a few areas. So you'll notice that the windows aren't exactly polarized, but this is what it looks like after I add the artificial lighting into the shot. So for this shot, I knew I was going to do a composite, so I wasn't too worried about getting the masking just right. I like to kind of do it a rough mock-up so I can make sure that's actually what I want to go for before I spend too much time if I decide to change my mind later on. So next up, once I had the lighting done on the car, was to try and find a background. So I flipped through a ton of photos, tried out a whole wide variety of backgrounds, and originally I wanted to do a nice desert scene, but that really wasn't working out and I didn't have any good backgrounds available for that. So eventually I found this photo, which is a nice shot of the beach, and I decided that this is what I wanted to be in the background. So now I had to figure out how I can blend this into the original image that we had. It's important when you're doing composites like this to make sure that you take care of the small details. So you have to get every area through the windows, any sort of small little cutouts, reflections, all those have to match up perfectly or it's going to stand out too much and give it away that it's a composite. So now that we have the sky in place, I had to figure out what I was going to do with the ground. On the left side of the car, there's a curb in the original photo that's really taking up a lot of the frame. So I needed to get a smooth transition from the asphalt to the sand on the beach photo. Luckily, I had this photo which had similar texture and tire tread marks on the ground, which would help it easily blend. So here's what it looks like when I added that new ground just on the left side of the image and blended it in. It's hopefully going to look seamless, and that was the original goal. So up until this point, we have a pretty good base image now. We do need to do some more cloning and some more work on the colors, which I'll get into in the next few steps. I brought down the reds a little bit because I felt that the original one was a little too overpowering and it made the car look flat. Then I moved on to some more cloning work, did some coloring on the background and on the ground, and I actually ended up bumping back up the reds, but leaving some of the darker reds from the previous layer to show through to give it some contrast. And there we have it. That's the final image. So now we'll take a look at the before and the after. Now this image didn't take too long. It was just working out the smaller details and the masking that really took a long time for this one. That's it for this video. If you guys like what you see or you want to see more, let me know in the comments or leave me a message on social media. I'll have all the links below.